in Parliament. This includes tracking the procession of priority bills. Second, introducing measures to effectively monitor and improve the quality of legislation submitted by the Executive Council. In line with these responsibilities, we have introduced the following measures. There is a dedicated official in the Office of the Deputy President responsible for tracking legislation as introduced by the Cabinet. Second, all bills are tabled before Cabinet committees before being submitted to Cabinet for final approval. Bills that do not meet the required standards are not submitted to Cabinet, but rather they are sent back to the relevant departments for further work. All Cabinet meetings have a standing agenda item for the leader of government business to report, especially on legislation. The Deputy President, as a leader of government business, reminds all ministers in writing to submit priority legislation on time and in line with the Parliament program. In this regard, the Deputy President, as the leader of government business in Parliament, convenes regular meetings with the Speaker, the Chairperson of the NCOP, and other presiding officers of Parliament in order to streamline legislative program. Honorable House Chairperson, I am pleased to report that Cabinet approved 42 bills on the 2023 legislative program on the 29th of March this year. As of the 26th of October this year, 22 bills on this program have already been introduced to Parliament and are broken down as follows. 4 bills pronounced during SONA by the President have all now been introduced. 17 mandatory money bills, 9 have been introduced. 9 legislation with constitutional court deadlines, 3 has been introduced. 12 critical priority bills, 6 have been introduced. The rest of the bills are currently being processed. In preparation for the next term, we will ensure that all the policy and legislative reforms introduced in the 6th Parliament are realized. I thank you, Honorable House Chairperson.
Thank you, Deputy President. As I invite for a follow-up question.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Deputy President, it is clear that these mechanisms that you have in place are not working. Not only are we sitting with a raft of bills to be dealt with before the end of term, but there is a very real possibility that many of these bills will lapse with no guarantee that they will be revived in the 7th Parliament. This tardiness becomes even more problematic when Parliament is not able to meet its deadlines set by the Constitutional Court and have to ask for extension upon extension. Judges have been scathing in their judgments about Parliament and ministers. And to add insult to injury, the negligence of members of the executive to submit legislation timeously almost caused great embarrassment for the country. We would not have been able to celebrate the Springboks last week and their wonderful achievement if we weren't given a last-minute reprieve for not complying with the WADA anti-doping requirements. This was totally preventable by having proper monitoring systems in place that work to ensure the country at least have necessary legislation to ensure our international compliance. The same goes for the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. These are bills that can have serious consequences for the country, and it is unacceptable that it is left to the last minute. Deputy President, as leader of government business, will there be consequence management? Will you take action against these ministers? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable, the Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson. Honorable House Chairperson, let me reiterate once more that I have written to all ministers who wanted to introduce priority legislation. We did set deadlines. I must say that many of the ministers complied, and we did put a deadline to say beyond this point, we are not taking any more bills, because I think it's important that we give Parliament an opportunity to be able to have time to process these bills. So you are quite right, Honorable Member, that if we bring bills late, it creates a problem, because many of these pieces of legislations are required out there in society. So yes, we have strongly stressed to ministers that legislation must come on time. In fact, we've agreed with the President that if ministers don't bring legislation on time, they won't see the light of day, because they have to go to cabinet committees to be processed to ensure that the quality is okay before they can go to cabinet. We will consider what other further measures we will take in case the problem persists. But so far, all the bills that were required for this year have gone through past cabinet, and I do hope that Parliament will be able to process them. Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you, Deputy President. The Honorable Khadebe.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. We appreciate the fact that the executive is committed to the radical socio-economic transformation of the country, as articulated in the Freedom Charter. This agenda can be achieved through the introduction of progressive laws, such as the NHI Bill and Expropriation Bill. Since Section 85 of the Constitution gives the executive the right and authority to prepare and initiate legislation when Parliament is in session, is it correct to expect the executive to relinquish its authority to introduce bills because the general elections are around the corner? And in doing so, will that not undermine the aspirations of South Africans to achieve a better life for all through new laws and amendments to the existing laws? Because as what we're urging the South African citizens to register next week, will that not undermine that process? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable the DP.
Very much, Honorable House Chairperson. Honorable Khadebe, our legislative program is in line with the manifesto of the governing party. So ministers look at what the governing party has committed to do, and they then develop legislation. Secondly, the issues that the President raised during SONA, a number of them do require legislation, so that also get considered. Thirdly, some of the issues that come from courts, including the Constitutional Court, require that certain pieces of legislation be processed. So that's what we do. We make sure that these various bills do go through during the term of office of the governing party, because you don't want to leave legislation to be processed in the next term. You have to do all of them. So we are busy processing those to ensure that come year, legislation that was required during this term has actually been processed and not left to fall over to the next term. So all those bills I mentioned are now before committees of Parliament. Some have been published, and I'm confident by the end of the term of this parliament would have processed all of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You are next to ask.
Honorable House Chair, I will take the behalf of Honorable Singh.
Proceed.
The Honorable Deputy President, some of our bills do not meet the constitutional values and quality as promised to South Africans. Not long ago, the Minister of Health was slammed by the Constitutional Court on the bill, meaning that the quality of bills that are being processed are not thought through. I would like to know what mechanism are in place to ensure that bills align with our constitutional values to ensure that they fit the post-apartheid context we live in. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable GP.
And thank you to the honorable member. Honorable House Chairperson, as I said earlier, when a bill is being processed, it goes through cabinet committees. The minister, the DG will make presentation. They can even bring experts. They bring their lawyers, they present. That's where we ensure that we become rigorous to ensure that the quality of the bills is up to standards. I did say earlier that in situation where the bill does not meet the standards, it doesn't pass to cabinet. It's sent back to be reworked on. And also we know that in most cases, before the president assent to pieces of legislation, they get checked once more, the legalities thereof, so that they meet all the standards. So from our side, measures are in place to ensure that all legislation that is passed by government meet the right standards that are required, and therefore we make sure that we are very rigorous. It may happen that in some instances, one or two things is missed, as you refer to the Minister of Health, but most cases, the majority of our bills do meet the required standards that is needed, and that's why they've gone through. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Thank you. The Honorable Reverend Swart.
Thank you, House Chair. Arising from your response, Honourable Deputy President, the ACDP, and I'm sure all of us in Parliament, are deeply concerned about missing Constitutional Court deadlines for remedial legislation. Deputy President, you indicated 9 have deadlines and 3 have been tabled. Now, in that recent Constitutional Court ruling, for the first time ever, the Constitutional Court ordered that the Minister of Home Affairs and his DG must personally pay parts of the costs, which means that bill fell through the cracks. And the court, in expressing its discomfort and upset with what was said that the DG had attempted to blame its delay on COVID pandemic and the fired parliament, although this had taken place 24 months past the deadline. And there was also a comment about parliament, which obviously on the face of it, that there was campaigning for re-election seemed to be more important to members than meeting the deadline for the enactment of remedial legislation. What mechanisms can we put in place from the executive to ensure Constitutional Court deadlines are met to avoid such judgments? Thank you.
Thank you. Let's avoid preambles so that we don't run over with time. The Honorable the President.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson. We continue to look at mechanisms to improve. Obviously, what we did from March this year, as I indicated earlier, I do write letters to all ministers, ask them if they have priority legislation, and indicate to them the deadlines that we put in place, particularly after discussion with presiding officers. And I must say that most of the ministers do keep to those deadlines, including legislation that must be passed as required by the constitutional law, the constitutional court. So, so my inclination, Honorable House Chairperson, is that all the legislation that have gone, or all the bills that have gone through cabinet, will definitely be passed before the end of the term of this parliament, because, as I said, all of them are currently now being processed. Of course, it means a lot of work for parliament, because we are going towards the end. We're going to try in the coming term that most of this legislation should come in much earlier than later in the year. But we as cabinet have now processed everything that needed to be processed. Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Thank you very much, House Chairperson.
Thank you, GP. We now proceed to question number 20, asked by the Honorable Shivambu to the Deputy President. The Deputy President.
Part of our efforts to assess progress that the government is making in implementing its programs, the President and I have been meeting all ministers, deputy ministers, DGs, and all heads of departments. In this regard, the President and I have had the opportunity to also meet the minister, deputy minister, and the Commissioner of Police to brief us on the work that they are doing, the plans that they have to fight crime in the Republic of South Africa. The ministry currently is implementing Operation Shanyela, a comprehensive plan to combat crime throughout the country. The plan includes clamping down, amongst others, on illegal mining and other serious crimes. The South African Police Services has established specialized units to work with business, private security, state-owned enterprises to tackle illegal mining, the construction mafia, cable theft, the vandalism of economic infrastructure, and also gender-based violence. The minister also announced that recruits are being enlisted to increase the capacity of the police. In this regard, 10,000 new trainees have already graduated, and over the next financial years, additional trainees will graduate, bringing the total number to 30,000 new police officers. 1,000 of the newly recruited personnel have been reinforced to increase the capacity of public order policing, which deals with crowd management issues and threats resulting from that. The POP has, by the end of October this year, received an additional 4,000 members resulting from this recruitment drive. Honorable House Chairperson, I have confidence not only in the Minister of Police, Minister Cele, Deputy Minister Matale, and Commissioner Masemula, but in all men and women in blue, right to the lowest ranking police officer, who are committed to fighting and defeating crime in our communities. The recently launched, and I quote, "combating crime through decisive police action and robust community involvement, and the operationalization of increased crime prevention and combating action plans through Operation Shanyela are yielding results in the fight against crime in our community." Honorable House Chair, We will continue to work jointly with the private sector to invest in efforts to combat crime. I also urge communities to continue to be involved in efforts to fight crime. They must work with the police and expose the rotten apples within our police force. Together, we will win this fight. Let's continue to build safer communities. I thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Deputy. I am told that Honorable Mthethwa will take charge of the follow-up question on behalf of Mr. Shibambu.
Thank you, Chair. Today, the City of Johannesburg, under the experienced guidance of Commissar Dr. Mthethwa.
Proceed, Baba. Honorable Makwetla Kwala.
A former EFF member of Parliament and current member of the Mayoral Committee for Public Safety, launched a new crime combating and prevention unit, as well as a tactical reaction unit. This step taken due to EFF number 39 as prevention. Realization that SAPS lack the capacity and willingness to adequately address the surge in the city crimes, such as robberies, cash in transit, heist, and theft, marks a significant move towards restoring order in the city. In order to extend this initiative, can you commit to engaging with the City of Johannesburg, particularly Dr. Commissar Tswaku, to establish these specialized units across local government? Additionally, would you consider proposing a conditional grant dedicated to funding these units in metropolitan municipalities? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable, the DP.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
Honorable Muyeni, please, actually, sorry, DP. Honorable members on the platform, please check your gadgets, all of you, and switch them off. No, we can't talk the same every day. It's too much now. We don't in or not, we have the participations list on our gadgets. Proceed, Honorable GP, and my apologies for that.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson. Honorable Mthethwa, the approach to policing over a number of years now has been to integrate our approach. So the South African Police Services does work with the municipal police, or some are called metropolitan police, throughout the country. So indeed, we will ensure that the SAPS does work with the City of Johannesburg as they are supposed to. And they are supposed to work with all other cities because we will succeed to combat crime and defeat it if all the security forces work together and not in silos. And this is the approach that has been pursued now over a number of years. And I think it will be important that it continues to be pursued, including in the City of Johannesburg. We do want to see the City of Johannesburg working closely with the SAPS. And as I said earlier, Honorable House Chair, the South African Police Services do also work with private security companies. We enlist the services of the private sector where necessary so that we can ensure that we increase our efforts to combat crime. So the answer is yes, we will work with the City of Johannesburg as we continue to work with all other cities. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson.
Thank you. Honorable Madam IT, please assist me. Just mute everybody whose mic is open. Please assist me. Babu Kaba, uthunyiwe.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. Deputy President, the fight against crime.
Honorable Kaba, I'm sorry, you are tall. That thing is, no, don't sit down, just try to bend. It's not very long.
I will do, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. Deputy President, the fight against crime and corruption and building safer communities is one of this government's top priorities. In line with that, the President of the Republic of South Africa directed that significantly more resources be made available for the police, the NPA, and the Special Investigating Unit, and that these agencies be beefed up with resources, skilled and professional individuals, including ensuring that the investigative directorate is established within the NPA to boost the country's fight against crime and criminality. Deputy President, what progress is being made to give effect to this strategy in order to decisively deal with impunity, general lawlessness, and restore confidence in our crime fighting structures? Thank you so much.
Again, preambles. Those who are coming now, I'm not going to allow you. The Honorable, the DP.
Very much.
1 minute.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson. Honorable Kaba, yes, the President has ensured that there are a number of initiatives that have been put in place to ensure that we deal with the problem of serious crimes. As you are aware, the investigative directorate within the NPA is tasked to deal with many of these matters, investigate serious crime, corruption, etc. And they are empowered by the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, which has been passed to ensure that they can do this work. There are other pieces of legislation that are also in place to assist in combating these serious criminal activities, including corruption. One of them is the Protection of Constitutional Democracy and Terrorist and Related Activities Act. We also have in government departments to deal with corruption, the PFMA, well known to many of us. The Financial Intelligence Center Act that is in place. So there are a number of these pieces of legislation, Honorable Kaba, that are in place. And I'm convinced that given all these pieces of legislation, we will be able to succeed to deal with serious acts of criminality, corruption, because we have the capacity to investigate and to deal with all these matters that sometimes may seem complex. But these institutions like the ID have the capacity to be able to investigate. Thank you very much, Honorable Kaba. Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson.
Thank you, UP. Honorable Wakefield.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Deputy President, that lawlessness and violent crime is not just reserved for the criminals in our streets, but they who commit some of the most violent crimes in our country. and you have personal experience of your own VIP unit committing the most violent assault on innocent South African citizens on the side of the N1 in 4 ways. So the question to you, Deputy President, is what discussions have you had with the Minister of Police to ensure that there are real and meaningful consequences for police brutality? These officers are back at work. This is unacceptable. We need to know what you are doing to curb police brutality and ensure discipline amongst violent SAPS members. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable GP.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson. Honorable as I said earlier, members of the police are being trained and continuously trained. I did indicate earlier that within the next few financial years, 30,000 more police officers will graduate, and they would have received proper training. So the discussions that we had with the Minister of Police indicated that this is happening. From time to time, you may have challenges as we deal with implementation, but there is no one who don the attire of or the uniform of police to be a police officer who's not properly trained. All of them are being trained, and sometimes they deal with difficult matters out there, but they have been trained, able to deal with people in a humane manner as far as possible. But outside the real world, we know we do have hardened criminals, and sometimes police then have to be able to act in a particular way to deal with those situations. But in most cases, they do apply what they have learned during training when they are at the police college. So I'm confident that South Africa will continue to do that, make sure that men and women in blue who are out there on the ground always implement the law and always respect the law. We know that when they don't do so, there are consequences. And they also know that if they don't behave in a manner that is lawful, they will face consequences as required by the law. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson.
Thank you. Honorable Kola Bornot and Honorable Papo, unfortunately, you are talking among yourselves and you are disturbing us. Honorable Friend?
Honorable Deputy President, it is common cause that South Africans are under attack, and this attack comes largely from the criminal element throughout the country. One can speak of the new avocado mafia, and the drug and human traffickers plying their trade almost openly in some instances in front of and with the tacit consent of SAPS. Mr. Deputy President, it has been said that the Scorpions had a conviction rate of some 90%. Currently, SAPS has a conviction rate of 10% for murder and rape and an overall conviction rate of 20%. Now, does the Deputy President agree that besides SAPS, all crime-fighting units in South Africa need to be adequately capacitated? And if yes, will this include giving the Hawks its original mandate as under former President Mbeki? And if the Deputy President agrees, what are the timelines and parameters of this capacitation? If not, why not?
Thank you. The Honorable GP.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson. Yes, indeed, I agree with the capacitation. In our meeting with Minister Cele, we were briefed with the President that that's what is now happening. I did allude earlier on to specialized units that are being set up to face particular kind of crimes. I guess when you speak about specialized units, one could think as the member is saying about in the past, the scorpions. They may be called in different names, but the issue is, yes, let's put in these specialized units to face various challenges. There are armed robberies in our country, there are burglaries, there's gender-based violence, there's illegal mining. So specialized units are being set up and are being given the necessary training and the necessary support, equipments that they can use. We know that criminals are now very advanced using sophisticated equipment, so should be the police. So we will support our police to also be able to use new technologies to be able not to lag behind criminals, but to be more ahead in terms of the equipments that they have. So yes, honorable member, we will ensure that this capacity is given as soon as possible. I can't give at the moment the exact time frames on when everybody would have been trained. But as I said earlier, a lot of those who are already working do continue to receive refresher courses, train, but new ones are also being enlisted now. And by end of the next financial year, as I said, we will have close to 30,000 new police officers on the ground. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson.
Thank you, DP. We now move to question number 21, asked by the Honorable Malachi to the Deputy President. The Honorable, the Deputy President.
Honorable House Chairperson, I'm pleased to report that together with the leadership of the Human Resource Development Council, the HRDC, we have completed the 10-year review of the HRDC. And as a result, we are focusing the work, we're refocusing of the council. The work of the HRDC has successfully been strengthened through partnerships, particularly between government, business, academia, trade unions or organized labor, civil, and other sectors as well. And together addressing blockages in the country resource development. The HRDC has been critical in contributing to the economic reconstruction and recovery plan, serving as an anchor by ensuring that the plan is skills-based, innovation-led, entrepreneurship-driven, but also advances technology. Honorable House Chairperson, as part of our commitment to addressing the skills shortage in the economy, the government, through the Department of Higher Education and Training, is committed to ensuring that the doors of education and learning remain open to all our people, to the youth, particularly from historically disadvantaged backgrounds. The Department of Higher Education and Training is already engaged in preparing NFSAS for the coming year, 2024 academic year, through various measures, which includes the finalization of a new comprehensive student financial aid model for cabinet approval. As part of the process to develop this model, the department has consulted several stakeholders, including, amongst others, the Business Association of South Africa, NETLEC, and other participants like organized labor. According to the Minister of Higher Education and Training, clear proposals on the funding model will be submitted to the Cabinet by the end of this year. The proposed funding model seeks to ensure that in the new academic year, particularly 2024, there will be the following: a retention of existing funding for poor students in the income bracket of 0 to 150,000 per annum per household, a funding strategy for the missing middle, which includes engaging with the financial sector to support by providing loans to students within that bracket, and also an incorporation of undergraduates and postgraduate students in the funding model. Regarding the challenge with direct payments, which started around June this year, the Minister of Higher Education and Training has already met and directed the board to investigate the extent of the problem and further devise a plan to address the identified challenges. To this end, the board has developed 7-point plan to speed up direct payments to affected individuals. Lastly, the minister has also directed the board to investigate the allegations of irregularities involving the appointment process of the 4 direct payment service providers. There have been notable actions on this matter. However, the board is still to provide a detailed plan on how it will respond to the remaining recommendations of the investigation report. Honorable House Chairperson, I thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm informed that Honorable Masaule will take charge of the question as asked by the Honorable Malachi. The Honorable Masaule.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Deputy President, the ANC-led government has positively responded to the call of generations of progressive student leadership and the fees must fall protest by expanding the threshold for funding from 120 to 350,000, which is a 191 increase. Most of the students in higher education and training system are supported by NSFAS. In other institutions, over 80% of students are NSFAS funded. We have realized free education for the poor and the working class. This is the ANC election manifesto commitment we have accomplished. Supporting the missing middle in the context of an increased cost of living is critical to guarantee all student higher education access, and we welcome the work of Cabinet in this regard. We implore decisive interventions to strengthen the governance of NSFAS, as mismanagement elements in NSFAS undermine the progress of transforming the conditions of the poor and undermine the ANC implementation. In relation to the skills-based, innovation-led, entrepreneurial-driven, and advanced technology skill development, how will the Human Resource Development Council ensure that universities and technical and vocational education and training colleges offer a curriculum that responds to the skills areas which are critical for economic growth and employability of graduates? Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable the DP.
Honorable House Chairperson, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Masaule. The Minister of Higher Education in August this year addressed a seminar which dealt with curriculum transformation and innovation. And in that summit, he dealt largely with the issues that you are raising. So the summit, as hosted by the department, was under the theme TVET curriculum transformation, a key to unlock skills development in the modern economy. And one thing that we need to stress, Honorable House Chairperson, is that TVET colleges are very important in this regard. We know that many children, when they finish matric, they want to go to university, but we need a lot of our children to go to TVET colleges. And the minister has been stressing that a lot because we need artisans, etc. So this seminar was very important. And in addition, there is a white paper on post-school education and training, which also outlines this TVET curriculum. So we do hope that beyond this summit, many of our children have got the message to ensure that they find TVET colleges attractive, because that's what the labor market needs. It needs those kind of skills that you can acquire by going to TVET colleges. So that is something that we support. I have been on a number of occasions with the Minister of Higher Education when we go out there in communities, particularly with the district development model, where he has spoken a lot, emphasizing the importance of TVET colleges to ensure that we have the necessary skills that we require as a country. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson.
Ma'am King.
Deputy, there's a misalignment between the basic education and higher education to narrow the critical skills gap. NSFAS funds less than 50% of the career fields in the critical skills list. This is aggravated when students were defunded in June and more than 100,000 students did not receive their allowances, forcing students to abandon their studies due to hunger, destitution, and inability to cover their funds. Deputy President, really Minister Nzimande in October present to Cabinet the awaited comprehensive student funding model on its sustainability, considering that the NTBPS highlighted a downward budget adjustment of 2 billion rand for NSFAS.
Thank you. The Honorable DP.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Member. The Minister of Higher Education did present that model to Cabinet. He has been working hard with his team to ensure that we do meet the demands of our students. Honorable House Chairperson, we should take into account that the number of students going to universities and TVET colleges has increased a lot in the recent years, and therefore requiring that government increase its support. And you can see that increase in real terms. I mean, if you go back, 10 years ago, you'll see that perhaps the number of students that were going to universities and colleges maybe were 500,000. The number has since tripled. But so is the funding that the government is providing. If I'm not wrong, I think as we speak now, NSFAS is well over 15 billion now, having started at around 600 million rands. So the number of students going to university and colleges, TVET colleges, is increasing, but government is also increasing support. We may not be able to cover everybody. I know Honorable Member is worried that there are students who may not have received their support, but government will do everything to ensure that every student that deserves does actually receive the necessary support. We are doing our best to ensure that our children must go to school, must go to colleges, must go to university, especially those who come from disadvantaged families. They will remain getting support from the government. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson.
Thank you. Hlonishwa Kwankwa.
Thank you ever so much, House Chair. DP, Apart from the responsibility that the Human Resource Development Council of South Africa has of fostering collaboration between government and the social partners towards addressing the skills gap, have you taken into account